right, what is up, everybody? My name is Augie Schmidt, and this is the CRE Arena. Today we have Ryan Pineda on the call, and Ryan's doing a lot of things. He's out in Vegas. Well, maybe it's Henderson, but I guess it's classified as Vegas. But Ryan's in a lot of things and very impressive young entrepreneur, man of faith, and he's doing a lot of cool things. So, Ryan, thank you so much.
Augie, man, happy to be here, dude. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, just to start us off, I really wanted to, if the people that don't know you in the audience, if you could give a couple minutes on, where you got to where you are today and, where you've been.
Yeah, obviously it's been a long journey, but to make it pretty quick, I started out as a pro baseball player, actually. That was my first job ever. So I got drafted by the Oakland A's in 2010 and thought I was going to be a big leaguer and make millions doing that. And after 3 years, I got released by them. Along the way, I kept playing professionally and, trying to get my way back in the game. And I did that for, I think 8 years. 8 years I played professionally. Now, most people don't know, but unless you're in the big leagues, you're not making money. So I was making anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a month. So I was kind of forced into entrepreneurship to pursue my dream of baseball. I never thought that I was going to be an entrepreneur. It was just like a side hustle type deal. So, I become a realtor in 2010, hate that. I started doing other things like substitute teaching and something that's now famous called couch flipping and, start making some money doing that. And eventually I get into house flipping in 2015. And that was when things really took off for me. I didn't have much money. I maxed out my credit cards, flipped a few houses, made, 25 grand my first deal. It was life changing. Just kept rolling that profit into the next deal, kept my credit cards maxed out for years while I was funding these deals. But eventually, after a few years of doing it, started getting some private money. And I was able to expand my flipping operation. And, eventually in year 4, we did over 100 flips. And we've kind of been at that pace every year since. And that in turn has kind of turned into other businesses as well, which is kind of what people know me for now. You're in commercial real estate, so we have a fund. We buy multifamily. I've got coaching programs. I've got a tax firm. I've got a lot of different businesses now, and I make a lot of content on social media, and it's been going really good.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. And from what I've seen, things are going good. And like I said, I've been very impressed with what you've accomplished. So, and with the couch flipping thing, I know you said that's one thing that's kind of become famous, if you will. So what and how did that start? So like that's just such a unique and some would say weird thing of like how does one get into couch flipping? I know the reason is like, hey, you gotta like find a way. Totally get that, but like how does that become the way, or what makes you think of that?
Dude, it was really just out of survival. My wife and I had gotten married really young. She was 21, I was 24, and she was still in school, not making money. I was only making $1,200 a month in baseball. So I'm like, how am I going to make money? And I already realized I hated being a realtor. I realized I didn't like substitute teaching. I was making $100 a day doing that. And when we got married, we furnished our apartment. And our apartment, I furnished it for like $1,000 off Craigslist. Yeah. And I remember looking at it thinking, man, I got really good deals on that furniture. I bet you I could like sell all this stuff for like $3,000, $4,000. And then it kind of hit me. I was like, it only took me a week to furnish this place. And if I could flip it right now for $3,000 profit, why don't I just do that like as a job? And so I tested it out. I started buying couches, and sure enough, I was making a ton of money. I was like, wow, this is nuts. Like I'm going full time at this. And so, for years that kind of held us up, and that was my first successful entrepreneurial endeavor.
Yeah, that's funny, man, and that's what a lot of people don't see, and it's fun to tell the stories about. And so many hustles have have started from Craigslist, because I remember I was 15 years old, and we used to take like broken cell phones, so when iPhones, they came out all glass fronts, it's the best phone to have, but you drop them once and they shatter. So we were actually buying cell phones on Craigslist and fixing the screens like shattered cell phones. But that was kind of my first hustle as a young kid, was buying phones and fixing phones, and deals done off Craigslist, which now it's just known as like a creepy place. There's all these like horror stories, and I don't think many people use it anymore. But that's where a lot of the original OG hustles, man. That's where they started out. So,
Oh yeah.
and you said you hated being a realtor, and you wanted to get, you then went to the investing front. What didn't you like about it?
I mean, dude, you got to remember this was 2010 when I got started, so the market was terrible.
Yeah,
Nobody could buy. Prices were super low, so even when you sold a house, you like didn't make much. Um, I didn't have a mentor or anybody telling me how to do this the right way, so I was
yeah,
always struggling to find leads and close deals. And I also had a little bit of I guess identity crisis of like, man, I'm only 21. Is somebody going to really listen to me about what I'm saying for them to buy their home?
hmm,
So, I think there's a lot of reasons why I didn't like it, but at the end of the day, I just kind of realized I don't like hand-holding people, period. I
yeah,
mean, even today, as somebody who owns multiple education programs, I'm not the hand-holder. Like, I'm going to
yeah,
tell you straight up how to do this, and we do have coaches who are accountability and hand-holders, and that's great, but it's not
yeah,
me.
yeah.
If I tell you to do something, I expect you'll do it, and I'm not going to check on you. Like it's up to you what you want to do with your life.
Yeah. No, I had a very similar thing when I got into the commercial real estate side of the business, was that I was 21 as well. And then, on the commercial side, it's like we're instantly talking to clients that, they have net worths of 10, 50, $100 million. And then to get on the phone with them and pitch them on paying me for my expertise. Being 21 years old, it's a pretty awkward conversation. But I was very fortunate to be with a good brand. That was key for me being young, is, being with a good brand. They had like $3 billion in, transactions in 30 years. So, that was one of the things that was really, helpful for me to get off the ground, as a broker. So from real estate investing, bless you, from real estate investing, what was the next business after that? Did you go straight into the coaching and training platform after that, or what was after you successfully started flipping homes by the hundreds?
Um, my first business, well, when I started flipping houses, in 2017, I retired from well, while I was playing baseball, I started in 2015. 2017, I retired. At that point, by the time I retired, I'd flipped probably 50, 60 homes while I was playing. So I already
Yeah,
had a lot of success. And, I retired and I said, you know what am I going to do? Right? Now that I don't play baseball anymore, I can dedicate myself to business. And
right,
so I got my first office and, I went to my partner, Nick, and I said, hey, man, well, he wasn't my partner yet, but I said, hey, you want to open up a brokerage? We're going to need a brokerage to sell these flips anyway, and people are going
right,
to want to join. So, the first business really was Forever Home Realty. Eventually, we built that up to over 200 agents. And um, this year, actually, I shut it down because I was like, dude, owning a brokerage ain't even like lucrative. So, yeah, that would have been the first one. The second and third ones would have been my education program, Feature Flipper. I started that in 2018, but I never took it serious until about 2020.
right.
It was simply just a course and my book, and I was like, if you want it, you want it. I don't really care. Like it's there.
Yeah,
Um, and then I started my CPA firm, True Books, at the beginning of 20. When did I start that? The beginning of 2020,
hmm,
and now we've got hundreds of clients. We've done, I think, thousands of returns now, and um,
that's
it's
awesome.
gotten pretty big.
Yeah. So for you, and that's one thing I realized as well. It's funny to hear you say that with the brokerage side of the business, because that's why I went on to launch CRE Academy was just because I felt like it was truly a calling where I could impact a massive amount of people rather than the traditional brokerage model, because that's the normal next step. At least I see for a lot of people is, hey, you do really well at brokerage, and then it's like start a brokerage and recruit agents underneath you. But I just didn't feel peace about that, and at the forefront of my priorities was impacting people, and I really thought I could do that the best through CRE Academy. So, my question for you is, for me it's a big change, and I want to know how it was for you from going from investing in deals, so you're trading tangible property and you're working with deeds and contracts, to selling and marketing a digital like online product. Was that a big shift for you? And also, like, how did you adapt to that? And is it time in the seat? Because playing the digital game, you got to have a lot of time in the seat. So just how'd that go for you? That big transition.
Yeah, I've realized that digital products are obviously a lot more scalable,
Right.
versus me going out and fixing and flipping houses. I mean, it's very labor intensive, capital intensive. Obviously, we still make millions doing it.
Right.
But, if I'm going to spend my time scaling something, the question I'm going to ask myself is, based on all the current opportunities I have in my life with influence, with expertise, with demand for education, am I better off trying to go flip 500 homes in a year, or am I better off, keeping with the current pace, kind of growing it and getting better a little bit in our current market versus going to other markets? Or am I better just going and taking the digital space by storm? And for me, the digital space was the obvious answer. Not only just is it smarter from a business perspective, but it's 1,000 times more fulfilling. I mean, helping people change their lives is really gratifying. Me
Right.
flipping 100 more houses doesn't really do anything for me. So, it was better on all aspects, for me.
Right.
And as we realized we got really good at building those types of companies, we built more of them and more of them. And I'm sure we're going to continue to build more of them. And I'm sure we're going to acquire education companies that maybe they've got a really good training and a product, but they don't know how to do sales and marketing. And so we'll be able to come in and help scale them.
Right. No, I think that's a great idea, and I think that industry is just going to get bigger and bigger, especially as traditional education and universities. When you can get the real world experience from somebody that's in it or doing it, I think that's incredibly valuable. So, the process of building that digital basis. I mean, some people when they start digital learning companies, they go the paid traffic route, they go the affiliate route, or just like straight organic, or what do you say, like, what was your route launching into the digital world?
I have this debate with digital marketers all the time. So I don't consider myself, I mean, I am now a digital marketer, digital entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But most people start with paid traffic. And, that's one of the, if you don't have any kind of influence, then yeah, you're going to have to go get customers somehow. And so most will do paid media. I did the opposite route. I didn't do any paid for forever. I just started doing paid this year, actually. And, I felt like I did it the better way of focusing all my time and effort on building out organic influence. And then by the time I launch products, people are ready to buy. So, my numbers, even on paid, are going to be better than everyone else because of the foundation I built organically. Because if somebody goes and sees an ad from you, right, and maybe they've never heard of you,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to go Google and they're going to be able to go see all this organic content I've put out. And they're going to say, oh, okay, I like this guy. He's trustworthy. On the
Right.
flip side, if you go paid and you have no organic presence and they see like, man, is this guy a scammer? Like, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Um, or, on the flip side, maybe they have seen me, right? And then they see my ad and they're like, oh, yeah, I know who that guy is. Like, I didn't know he owned that company. Cool. Let me go see what's up. So I think organic is always going to be something people have to do. Now, that being said, it's really the long game. If you're trying to build the company now, building it purely off organic is going to be really hard, because you're just not going to generate as many leads right off the bat. So you got to be willing to play the long game.
Right. No, that totally makes sense, and I think that that brand trust and the loyalty that comes out, because I've seen this, the same thing is there's a difference between, hey, you've seen somebody, even if you didn't like, even if no people haven't paid you much attention, or somebody's seen you for 12, 18 months, and you've just kind of been there and they're not interested. You've still been there. So, if something changes in their life, or, they're wanting to get into the industry you're in, having the time in the seat, I think that's a really big deal across the digital space, because there are a lot of fly-by-night people that, it's like, hey, let me come in here and, put a product together, and then let me run 100K a month in ads and just go for it. And then, you don't know their name, and, you might not see them again in 6 months. So, no, I think that's really valuable. And that's across, that can be applied to many, many areas of life. But we won't go down that rabbit hole. But consistency and showing up is, there's a lot to be said for that. So, so for these businesses that you have, continued to start and grow, and sounds like, start to acquire soon, what has been, I've heard you talk about partnerships before. I want to say it was on Neil Dingra's call. You talked about partnerships, and, so how are you able to, start? And I know the digital presence and brand is got a lot to do with it. But as far as starting and running so many businesses, if you look at how many businesses you own, a person might say, like, does this guy work 1,000 hours a week? But I know, like, that's something you're passionate about, and that's not the case for you. So, how, starting the businesses and then also running them successfully, and partnerships. If you could talk on that, and how you've done that successfully, I think that'd be really valuable.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into running businesses, especially with multiple, right? I mean, structuring one business is already a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
And most people don't even have an organizational chart. Most people don't have any SOPs. I was that way for a long time, and I made millions of dollars. And
Right.
so, I brought in a business coach, who I always talk about. His name's Gary Harper, back in 2020, beginning of 2020, before the pandemic. And he really helped us see, like, how to become more, I guess, corporate, right?
Right.
And that helped me a ton, because I realized, like, okay, these are the things I'm doing in the business right now. Here's what I shouldn't do. Here's who should do them. It's very clear and defined what that role is. Cool. This makes complete sense. Now nobody's, like, not understanding what's supposed to happen here. So sure enough, once I did that, I mainly built it for my house flipping company. I was like, this is applicable to every business. And so I started doing it for my current ones, my education company, True Books, the brokerage. And then when I started to open up new businesses, I was like, wow, like, it's very simple. You need this guy, this department, boom, boom, boom. Like, everyone knows their role. I understand how to hire people. Cool. We understand who's in charge. Let's roll.
Yeah.
And, each individual company has, its own org chart with, specific leaders. And at no point in any of the companies am I, like, the bottleneck. I don't have to operate in any kind of day-to-day capacity. Now,
Yeah.
I do operate in the CEO visionary capacity, where, I think about them, and I think about, where are we going? How are we going to get there? How do we grow the company? What are new products and services we need? And, always in the background, I'm working on some new company, right? Because I just really enjoy starting businesses and acquiring businesses and all that. So, I kind of focus on that. One other thing we did was, as we got bigger, we ended up starting a parent company.
Hmm.
So, the holding company, or the parent company, whatever you want to call it, has its own C-suite of executives, and they each have their role. And I actually brought Gary in again 2 weeks ago to help us really dial that in, because we're in such a different place today where, at this point, we are going to be kind of an acquisition company, or, an incubator, whatever you want to call it, who's just, there's going to, in my mind, I'm like, okay, we got enough companies. And he's like, no, you don't. Like, you just, it's obvious what you are and what you're going to do. And people are going to want to partner with you. You're going to get more ideas. Like, so you have to build out this holding company structure so that it can support all those great ideas and acquisitions and scale them. So that's kind of what we do now. We got
Yeah.
just a really good structure.
Yeah, that's exciting, man, and I think that's that being the next wave, something really exciting to pursue. And you know, so when deciding to go, because obviously, for all these businesses, you want them to be successful, and you want to go, deep. And now it's like, going wide too with the holding company. So I think having the SOPs and the org charts and having the right people in place, and it's probably a lot of culture based, but I just want to hear from you. How do you go deep and wide? It's like, hey, now there's say 25 companies. How do you ensure that, hey, all of these companies are like trying to dominate their niche? Because I'm sure you're not the type of guy that just wants to be a company that dabbles in something and does okay. So how do you go deep and wide when now looking at 20, 30, 40 companies, or whatever it grows to?
I think that is the hard thing for a lot of companies. It requires you to have people in the specific companies that are, like willing to grow it. Like that's their sole focus in that specific company, and that's how they get paid. And, they want to see it grow. Right. And then it's putting up at that parent company level, the right, people in there that can support all of, I guess, the sibling companies. And, yeah, it's not easy by any means. But, for me, my job is to make sure we have the right people that can help grow all these companies and make them better and better, both at the parent company and at the actual company level. Because I personally don't have the time to just do it myself. I got to have people who can do it beyond me. Now, granted, they're always going to, I'm going to have some level of influence on all of them. But, yeah, I need other people beyond myself that can do it.
Yeah. And finding those people is key. And I think with the culture and with the culture you put forth and your personality is going to attract a certain type of people. But with finding the right fit for people, because that's one thing that I've paid attention to is putting the right people in the right place. And I don't know if you've read Stephen Schwartzman's book, Whatever It Takes, but his main thing at Blackstone is they didn't make a move, didn't acquire a company if it didn't have synergy, and there wasn't a 10 that could come along with it. So whatever company or business venture they went down, it had to provide synergy and also a 10 out of 10 as a person to run that business. And so finding a 10 in the industry, but also a culture fit. Like I said, I think there's some mutual connection of just when certain types of people attract similar types of people. But as far as being a man of faith and having a culture in your companies and pursuing excellence in everything you do, making sure things are a good culture fit. I mean, you get that feel over time, or how do you vet that out? It's not something you necessarily put on a resume,
Yeah. Your culture comes from multiple things, right? It comes from how you carry yourself, it comes from your core values, it comes from the people that you hire and put in charge of things. So, I mean, when you're starting at a very basic, simple level of one company, which probably most people listening are in, right? Okay, you're the boss, everything else, right? So, how do you carry yourself, right? Are you a hard worker? Do you do what it takes? Are you always tripping out and blowing up? Are you timid? All of those things will trickle down into your culture, right? If you walk around me in my office, or even just watch my content, I don't put on a front. I'm coming to be the best, and I'm coming to dominate, and I don't need to go out there and say it, or just say all this crap that trying to throw big visions. No, this is what we're gonna do, and I'm a man of my word. When I say something, we do it, and we're going to get it done. And it may not work out the way we thought it was going to work out, but we know that we're going to adjust, we're going to pivot, and we're going to find a way that works. So it all starts with you at the very beginning. Now, from there, once you start carrying yourself the right way, the second thing is, okay, how are you choosing the people that work for you, right? What kind of filter do you have? And for me, the filter is that we start with our core values. They're on our wall in both of our offices, okay? I mean, I can look at them right there from my desk because I want to see them every day. It's serve others, train daily, play fair, no ego, okay? And so if somebody doesn't have all four of those core values, they can't work for me, period. I don't care how talented they are, how much money they're going to make, they cannot work here. And
Yeah.
so when you're very strict about that, you are going to get people in your organization who are all very like-minded and they have the same ethics and morals. And, as a Christian, I don't need everyone to be a Christian, okay? But I
Yeah.
do need people to have Christian principles with
Right.
how they live and how they act. I need people with integrity. I need people who are going to serve others. I need people who are trying to get better every day. I don't want people with egos and pride. So, they're very Christian values wrapped up into, my core values. But
Yeah.
once you do that, assuming you hire the right people, right, you then, as you grow, are going to have leaders. And you're
Yeah.
going to have to trust these leaders to do their job and know that they're going to screw up and they're going to cost you money and they're going to
Right.
make mistakes. And if you're just always thinking like you can't trust anyone or they're not good enough, they're not going to do it as good as you, that's what's going to happen. They
Yeah.
can't do it as good as you, or else they would go start their own thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
once you start accepting the realities and you just take it through a process, you end up with good people, right? And the
Right.
moment you find out somebody isn't a culture fit, you get rid of them quick because
Yeah.
one person can destroy a whole organization.
No, that's huge. And some of the things you said there was, no egos. So that was one thing that we had walking into the locker room. So I played high school and college football, and in the high school locker room, that was one of the big things was the Braves was the team name, and the E right when you walk in the door stood for egos left at the door. So I think that's big in any company. And and do you say like, man, that desire, that fire in you to pursue excellence and greatness and dominate, man, how much do you think of that stems from athletics and playing ball?
100%. I mean, I would say it all stems from that.
Yeah.
I mean, even growing up, I always wanted to compete and be the best.
Right.
If I was in school, I'm like, I might as well just get A's, even though I'm not passionate about it. I'm in this class.
Yeah.
I don't want to just be in this class to be in this class and not give it my best.
Yeah.
So that's how I always was. I graduated high school with like a 4.3. I don't think I'm the smartest, but I think I just like have a very high self-worth where I'm like, dude, I'm not a guy who's going to go get C's and just like, no, I'm going to dominate whatever I do. I think sports definitely played that, but it's just not in sports only. I mean, it's in business now. It's in social media. It's in,
Yeah.
if I'm going to come on a podcast, I want to be the best podcast guest you've ever had. Like, I
Yeah.
want to make sure your audience got so much value in things that they never considered. So that's just how I carry myself. And I think it comes from sports, or maybe I've just always been that way, and sports just happens to be one of the things that, I honed into.
Yeah, no, and I started to think about that when when you said that. Is I didn't get into sports until later, but similar, I've always had that desire to be the best. And I actually heard my son say that the other day. So he started rolling in jiu-jitsu about 3-4 months ago. I started 6 months ago, and he told me he wants to be the best grappler in the world. And like
That's awesome.
to hear him say that, I was just like, I was so proud of him saying that. It was pretty funny because then he asked me, he's like, "All right, Dad, what's your goal in jiu-jitsu?" And then I was like, and I told him, I was like, I want to compete next year. So I want to compete in 2023. I'm on a different route to be the best out there, and I told him he can absolutely do it, but it's going to take a lot. It's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of work. So it's one of the beauties of raising kids. So, and you have a son too, right?
Yep, my son's about to be 4. My daughter's 2. So,
Oh man, yeah, 2 years apart. I'm 7 and 5, and my wife is 7 months pregnant. So
oh
we're
boy,
rolling. Yeah.
here we go,
So,
baby. I love it.
yeah. No, I'm really excited. I know you got to go here in a minute, and if you don't mind, I'll hold you right after we close out here just for a second. But man, before we go, so is there anything right now that you're working on, you're really excited about and passionate about that you just want others to keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but my book is coming out December 13th, The Wealthy Way. I'm super excited about that. It is a passion project, and it's something that I'm going to really build everything I do around. Just
Yeah.
this philosophy of how entrepreneurs should be living their lives. I've just seen far too many guys who get so caught up in building businesses and making money that they end up losing all the other things in their life, like their
Yeah.
family. They get divorced. They never see their kids. They lose their faith. They're not going to church. They, have no spiritual kind of connection. They lose their health. They're out of shape. They're fat. Got a lot of health problems. And it all just stems from putting business above everything else. And that's just not the way to live. And it's not the way I've ever lived. And I think it's a message that entrepreneurs need to hear. And it's not just like a message. It's like very tactical of, hey, here's how you do this. Here's how you make these things a priority. Here's how, you can have it all and be very successful in business and social media. You don't have to give up this stuff. I'm living proof of that. Yeah. And so I'm really excited about that book. And we're doing a super special kind of launch for it. So people can get it for 99 cents. I mean, it's definitely not a 99 cent, like one of those free books. Like it's a legit book. I just want everyone to read it. And also too, for those who buy it and leave a review, I created a brand new course that I'm giving away for free called Business Builder Academy. So to your point, you asked me, how do you build so many businesses and how do you manage them? Like I've been asked that a million times on podcasts. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make a course. I'm going to detail everything I told you about hiring and core values and everything, but even go more in depth on marketing, sales, operations, picking a brand, a product, your pricing, CRMs, like everything that I just don't know of anybody that's made something for all the ways to run a business in today's world, especially a digital business. Yeah. And so and that's going to be completely free.
It's nuts.
That's awesome. So if anyone wants it, it's at wealthywaybook.com. You can get both of those things.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And like I said, I just really commend you for everything you're doing. And also with that passion project and such a big project and the impact, millions of people, it's a big stewardship thing. And you've obviously been a very blessed dude. So using those gifts and abilities and talents to bless others, man, that's, I know it's appreciated by me, but appreciated by, the market and a lot of other people as well. So, man, thank you so much for coming on the CRE Arena. And I know, you can find Ryan on just about any social platform. He's out there. So go find him, give him a follow, check out the book and also the free course. And man, Ryan, thank you so much. And hope you guys all have a great day.
Cool. Augie, thanks, man. I'll see you later.